Este es Aaron con de ANetComputers.com. Otro video para ti hoy. A shorter video than I normally make, but I'm going to kind of change how I do things. I'm going to try to make shorter videos that are tech related and then longer videos that are just, well, whatever. So let's talk about this exploit. So there was an exploit within the last couple of days, and it deals with the Cisco small business RV320 and RV325 routers. And there was an exploit disseminated on GitHub, and it's just, as soon as the exploit was released, sure enough, hackers started to take advantage of it. So but I'm not into censorship, but I'm just saying, it's been out on GitHub. It's still out on GitHub. I'm looking at it right now, but I'm a little bit squeamish because I don't really talk about this that often. I do talk about YouTube being censors and they don't support free speech, but I've really never talked about how the fact that I've had some videos pulled because of alleged community guidelines, when all I was doing was just making a video report about an exploit or hacking. Or one video I made was about a website that allowed you to obtain music not legally, and I never told anybody to pirate, but I just reported. So you have to be careful. I'm looking at, if you're curious, what I would do, this has been within the last few days, so this was January 23rd. Now Cisco, I'm looking at Cisco. This is how I roll. I know a lot of the YouTube technology shills, they don't go directly to the source. I go directly to the source. I try to get my information. I'm looking exactly at Cisco's, here, I'll even prove it. But I'm a little bit squeamish now because YouTube released some different, I'm going to make a video about that. They've released some new policies that YouTube's has always sucked, but now it's like they could just basically pull any video they want for just like no reason. But they could do that before, but okay. So let me transition. So this is the statement from Cisco Security Advisory. So I'm going to show it to you, just scroll down and show it to you that I'm not full of shit, that this isn't conspiracy kookery, and that I'm not making shit up, okay? So, but that's probably it for that. Now there is, and then the GitHub, no, I've been down that road before. If you try to, YouTube doesn't want you to become like a journalist, especially with certain topics. Even in information technology, it can be very touchy. The word hacking, hackers, hacker, that can be touchy. Also, I would say copyright infringement, that can be very, 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 very touchy. Okay, so Cisco Security Advisory, Cisco Small Business RV320 and RV325 routers information disclosure. It was first published a few days ago. It was updated on the 25th, and I'll just quickly go over some of the summary. Vulnerability in the web-based management interface of Cisco Small Business RV320 and RV325 dual gigabit wide area network virtual private network routers could allow an unauthenticated, that's a very keyword, unauthenticated, so they don't even need to give credentials, they don't need to give a password, a username and a password. Remote attacker, remote means not on the network. That's my interpretation of the word remote. Nobody near the equipment, just somebody out on the internet, or out on a network somewhere. Okay, so they could obtain sensitive information. Well, duh, they get into the router, and then they can get, who knows where they can get after that. Okay, it says that this vulnerability is because of improper access controls for universal resource locators, web addresses. They could connect via the hypertext transfer protocol or hypertext transfer protocol security. So either HTTP, I'm not picking my nose, but I know how individuals are on YouTube. No, not at all. They just make shit up. They think they see things when no. Hypertext Transfer Protocol, Security, SSL, or just standard HTTP. They could request certain URLs, and then that would allow the attacker to download the router configuration and or detailed diagnostic information. Now, there has been a firmware update released that addresses it and fixes this issue. Here are the products that are affected. The RV320 and RV325 dual gigabit wide area network virtual private network routers running firmware releases 1.4.2.15 and 1.4.2.17. It doesn't say, it just says and, so I guess there was no 1.4.2.16, or it doesn't affect that one. Yeah, it doesn't say 1.4.2.5 to 1.4.2.17. Now I'm looking at a list of vulnerable products. That's it, just those two it looks like. So let's go back. There's no workarounds, but there is fixed software. Cisco has released free software updates that addresses the vulnerability. Okay, so you're gonna have to download and install the update. And they do provide a link. Do they provide a link to it? Yes. Fixed releases. Cisco fixed this vulnerability in RV320 and RV325 with a firmware update. So you need to know what you're doing. You need to be cautious. You know, a firmware update, they're safer to me than, 20, 30 years ago. But still, don't ever power off. Doesn't matter what it is. Any kind of a technology device, printer, router, switch, whatever can allow a firmware update, don't ever power it off, and don't ever just allow the install to complete. Don't be impatient, because if you power it off, yeah, you could fuck up the firmware update. It's similar to a BIOS update on a personal computer. They give instructions, so it will be released 1.4.2.19, and later will include the firmware update to fix this security vulnerability. So these are quick instructions. You would click on Browse All, you would access your Cisco device, and then you would click on Browse All, navigate to routers, and then select small business routers, and then select small business RV series routers, and then you would choose RV320 dual gigabit wide area network virtual private network router, or the RV325 dual gigabit wide area network virtual private network router, and then you would select small business router firmware. And then you would, obviously had downloaded the firmware. You have to download that from Cisco and then install it, and that should fix the security vulnerability. Cisco would like to thank Red Team PenTesting GmbH for reporting. Okay? It's got a revision history. All right, that's it. So Cisco released the update, the firmware update. And so I showed you the link on screen. You should be able to find it. I would say just search the title from this video and you should find it. Now I'm going to go into, I'm not going to screen capture this, but this is the actual vulnerability, and it was released on GitHub. And let's see, what's the 4 days ago. And as soon as it was released, it was being used. It's a dump file. Cisco RV320 dump. What else? Exploit. It even tells you it's an exploit. Okay. Wow. Exploit. It's got the exploit code in it. Post authorization exploit. a data dumper exploit, a configuration dumper exploit. What else? I'm just reporting. Never in this video did I recommend anybody now. So that's why I'm hesitant of even screen capturing. I'm even hesitant of even like, oh yeah, YouTube is fascist. They always have been, but now it just gets worse and worse. That's why you need to create your own platform. I have my own CDN. The YouTube technology shills that tell you that you cannot create a YouTube. Well, what are you talking about? In context, what are you talking about? Clarity? What do you mean by that? Yes, you can. Anybody can create their own video platform. All you have to have is a content delivery network. You don't want to share video on your own web server, because the web server isn't designed necessarily to load video. But what you do is you get a content delivery network. There's hundreds, if not thousands now, and then you upload your video files to your content delivery network, and then you just embed it into your website. But this whole concept of you can't create your own YouTube, what do you mean you can't create your own YouTube? YouTube is a video sharing site, but what do you think YouTube uses? Are they trying to dissuade you from using YouTube? I wouldn't use YouTube, but I make money off of it. I'll be blunt and honest. But that doesn't mean that even I have my own content delivery network. It's not that difficult. You can start your own video sharing website. Oh, you can. You could create your own YouTube. You could. Now, I would have to study YouTube. Originally, did they use their own servers, or did they use third-party servers? Because it's possible right now that I'm assuming they use their own hardware. So even trying to get your own hardware, even that is possible. You just have to have money. But to think that in 2019 you can't create your own YouTube, that is absurd, because, well, there's Dailymotion, there's Vimeo, there's hundreds if not thousands of video platforms now. So I'm not sure what that statement means, or just, I don't know, man. The YouTube technology shills, man, I'm telling you. So I'm a little bit hesitant on going any. That was it. So there was it gives you an example of the exploit. It has the code, and then what else? It's got a way to take advantage of the exploit on GitHub. But it was reported on, and there is a patch for it. And so that's it, However, one problem with exploits is that if you don't know about it, that exploit is going to exist until you patch it. So, but you know what I'm saying? Anything else, man? I went directly to the source. Although it is good to give credit where credit is due. And so you could also go and you could just go to, they might have information. Red Team Pen Testing GmbH. Oh yeah, here it is. If you Google Red Team Pen Testing GmbH or Bing search or DuckDuckGo or whatever, you should find it. I'm looking at it right now. I guess they were the first to report, or maybe we'll find out. I don't want to make this video too long. It's already 14 minutes. Let me try to keep it down to 20. That URL is kind of slow. Oh, it finally loaded up. Cisco RV320 command injection. Red Team Pen Testing discovered a command injection vulnerability in the web-based certificate generator feature of the Cisco RV320 router. Cisco RV320 dual giga, we already went over that, also is the 325. So it affects two routers. It's got a web interface. Okay, it goes over the vulnerability. Oh, the vulnerability was identified last March. Wow, according to PenTest, the vulnerability identified 9/19/2018, last September 19. So it's been around a long time. And there was an advisory published, I think on the January 23rd of 2019, which I just read part of it. That is Cisco's. The dates match, so I assume that PenTest is referring to the same disclosure from the manufacturer, from the actual original equipment manufacturer that created those routers, and they released a disclosure. And that's how I roll. I report directly from the source if I can. Sometimes you can't, but you would be well, I'm not surprised anymore, but you might be surprised. Very often you can get information directly from sources. That's how I roll. I don't need to. I'm not dissing on anybody, but I don't necessarily need to like read blog posts or watch news. I don't watch television news. I'm not saying this would be reported on the television news, but I don't even watch that much YouTube videos unless it's like specific but I don't sit there and watch tech channels, and I don't watch technology news. I know I'm not, there's certain ways I know how to find information that's trending. I use those, and that's how I stumbled upon this one. And then I performed a quick Google search, and I found that Cisco disclosure. And then I was like, sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes it does help. That's another thing that helps. I may or may not write a blog post. I don't have my website up yet. If I get it up and running, I'll try to write a blog post. That's another thing I like to do if I can. I like to link directly to the source. That way, if anybody is interested, they can get to the original information. And then I also link back and give credit to Cisco. And I would give back, and if I did write a blog post, I would also give credit to PenTest, because they're the ones that was the first to. I didn't verify, but it sounds like, well, Cisco gave them credit, so it's possible that PenTest was one of the first to start reporting on it, or they were the first to study it and try to reverse engineer it and try to figure out the exploit and then disseminate it. So, and that's not rare. Exploits will be around for even years. Oh yeah, there was. Let me think off the top of my head. There was an exploit within the last year or two that was actually around for years and years. I think it was that one with Intel. That really serious exploit with the Intel processors. That one was around for, I think, maybe even decades. Yeah, that is possible. And you know what I'm saying? Okay, anything else that is interesting to me? Okay, one more quick thing. So PenTest, let's read really quickly about them. I have never heard of this organization. Let's see. Red Team Pen Testing offers individual penetration tests performed by a team of specialized information technology security experts. Okay. As there are only few experts in this field, Red Team Pen Testing wants to share its knowledge. Okay. So alright, so that's a narrowed down niche. Okay, Red Team Pen Testing, seeing your network from the attacker's perspective. So it sounds like they test. They're the ones that try to, see if they can use exploits to their advantage, and they have got individuals that know what they're doing, so they know how to penetration test, but they're not using it for nefarious purposes. Alright, so now quickly, I don't want to make this video too long, let's kind of see if we can find the specs. I kind of wanted to find the specs on that Cisco router, or the Cisco routers. There's two of them. Let me go back And they didn't, did they link in this security bulletin? I don't think they did, but did they? It doesn't really look like it. Let me try to search for it, and I'll close that. And I'm just kind of curious, you know what I'm saying? You know, how many of these routers are out in the wild? It looks like it's a business, it's a commercial. Oh, here we go. I'm looking at it right now. It's the Cisco RV320 dual gigabit. Okay, I will screen capture this. So this is the router that has the exploit. It's a dual gigabit. WAN stands for wide area network. I'm not being condescending. I'm just saying VPN, virtual private network. I can close that X. Okay, so here it is. Dual gigabit Ethernet WAN ports. Okay, for load balancing. It's got a 4-port gigabit Ethernet switch. It's got an SPI firewall, and it's got hardware encryption. State packet inspection firewall. It supports SSL, secure sockets layer, internet protocol security, IPsec. Those are old. That's old school security, virtual private network capabilities. It's got a browser-based device manager. Yeah, so it has a web-based interface. So, and that was part of the exploit. If you were paying attention, that was part of the exploit. The exploit took advantage of the web-based interface. Specifications. So it's for gigabit Ethernet, internal and external connections. All right, what else? It supports virtual private network, so that's for VPN. So a company could allow employees to connect from home. Anything else? It says it's easy to configure out of the box. It has a setup wizard, and I'm not going to go into the detailed specs, but I'm an information technology, I don't know what I would call myself. I'm obsessed with it at times. I would rather spend my Sunday evening or Saturday evening or Friday evening. It keeps me out of trouble. It keeps me away from 98% of American society, those clowns that don't use logic and they just run off of emotions and animalistic, savage, violent behavior. So, but I won't go into further. And then I'm not a networking expert. I'm like maybe intermediate. I don't even know if I would call myself that. That might be bragging. That might be my narcissism. I'm not a networking expert. No, I know the basics. You can get Etherreal with that, which is old school. You can get a packet sniffer, and you can on any network, and you can start sniffing for packets and looking for exploits. And these people are security experts. Well, they sound like they are. Red Team. Well, they found the vulnerability. They tested for it, so that tells me that they know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to use the word expert because anybody can become an expert, but you know what I'm saying? But me, I kind of like to just, and I'm always learning too. That's a way for me to learn more, is just to, I'm not going to know every acronym. I hate acronyms, but that's how I've learned. That's how anyways, I don't want to make this video too much longer. So there it is. It's a small business. Okay, so it is small business. Let's look at it again. So it is a small business router, and even says it on the front. So it's got LEDs on the front. It even has USB connections. Anyways, I don't want to, go any further, because then I'll start looking at I'm curious as to what, what kind of ports are on the back. But that's it. That's the device that had the vulnerability, and Cisco has now patched it with a firmware update. So you would just connect to this via the web-based interface, and then you would go into the maintenance area and with those instructions, and you would just upload the firmware, and as long as you double check and as long as you're patient and the firmware install succeeds and you don't brick the device, it comes back and you would have version, what was it, 1.5.1.19 or whatever it was, you know what I'm saying, and above, and boom, that vulnerability would be fixed. So a vulnerability with the Cisco RV320 and I think also the RV325 business. It looks like small business. I don't know all the specifications. I don't know how many users, but it says small business. Alrighty. Adios. Oh, dislike this video. Don't comment. Don't subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Alright. Adios.